Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Work at Home Rockstar Podcast. Excited, I have two guests today. we're talking to the co-founders of Take Two Content. And what they do is they help brands drive more sales through engaging social media ads. Very excited to be rocking out with both of you today. We got Shelby Dash and Kristina Clifford. Hey, you guys ready to rock?
We're ready.
Born to rock.
Born to rock.
Rocking and rolling.
You're in the sound studio, so you're ready to go.
Yep.
Yes, we are.
Awesome. So let's start off on a good note. Tell me a story of success in your business or your life that you can share with us that is going to be inspiring to us.
Well, what comes to mind with this question, and I love this question because it doesn't sound like this would be a success, but how we started our business in the first place is because of the pandemic. And in the past, we've done a lot of comedy videos just for ourselves, and we would post it on Instagram, and we really kind of like honed our craft with that. And so when the pandemic hit and we both lost our jobs, we kind of went head first into making a business for making ads for brands and businesses with our comedy edge. And, looking back, I'm like, wow, it is a success because I see all these milestones that we hit. But it's interesting because during the time, it was definitely like a very scary place. And I know they always say, like, when a door closes, there's a window that opens. And there was a lot of windows that open with not only this business, but we also do script writing as well. So a lot of things just started sprouting up because of it.
Yeah, you don't realize like what is distracting you from your goals until you kind of don't have another choice but to focus. So yeah, even though, like she said, even though it might sound like something that's not a win, we ended up using it to our advantage. Also, it's worth saying that during the pandemic, since everything was online, people were really looking to video. So it was kind of a great time for us to really start our business and start making money.
And I think we had been like tiptoeing towards that door for a long time because there's just not enough time to do everything. So when we took something out, then it just, it all fell into place quite nicely.
Like Indiana Jones. I think I heard this from a Netflix show about like a sociopath, but he was talking about that Indiana Jones scene when he looks down off the cliff and it looks like a steep drop. But as soon as he trusts and steps out, a bridge appears. So that came to mind, even though it was a sociopath that did say that quote on a Netflix documentary.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I know. It's definitely true. I mean, it tends to be that things work out when you're moving in the right direction and when you're moving with passion. And you definitely picked a good field to be in, because especially when everything went home, right? I mean, I build websites too. That's my business. So when the pandemic happened for me, it was a similar situation where all of a sudden everybody wanted to go online. So I think that's kind of like the big lesson there is that when there's a downturn, there's always opportunity there somewhere. You just got to find it, right? And
yes.
It tends to be when you are unwilling to change and accept that maybe your path is ending. That's when you get in trouble, right? Instead of jumping to the bridge and going the other side, right?
Definitely. And even just thinking what you said just made me think about social media, because we do a lot of, YouTube ads, social ads, stuff like that. And social media is always pivoting. Instagram has been the hot thing for so long, and then TikTok came, and it's like, I think there's always that resistance to jump on the new bandwagon. And really the best thing to do is just jump early rather than hanging back and saying, I don't want to waste my time. I don't know if it's going to be a big deal, because those early adapters really rise quickly to the top. So it's almost like you're missing an opportunity if you don't pivot quickly in that sense also.
I don't think people necessarily want to take the time to like learn something new. And really that's where you reap all the benefits when you do jump in. Yeah,
you've got to keep on reinventing yourself over and over again. And until you kind of realize that, I mean, because I can see the scary part, which is like, maybe this thing won't take off, you know? So you sort of have to hedge that bet, but you're definitely not going to keep going in the same path forever. Eventually, you're going to have to pivot somewhere. Every business does, right? Because the times change.
Exactly. And I mean, that's why it's so nice to have such a solid partner, because you can, doing it by yourself is one thing. You're just in your head, but if you have a solid partner to have that feedback, that bounce, that what am I trying to say?
Like a
Sounding
sounding
board.
board
That's
in the
word.
studio. No.
I'm gonna say get a room, girls, but you're already in one. So, all right. Now, it's not all sunshine and roses. I mean, things do sometimes not go as planned. So tell me something that didn't work out as planned for you guys, and how maybe we can avoid it or recover.
Tim, I've got a story for you. So when we were first starting out,
This is before we did the LLC.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is we started LLC. We were just starting to look into like getting more video jobs, and we were popping on Craigslist, which isn't always bad. We found some great clients through Craigslist, but in this particular sense, we interviewed multiple times at what seemed like a startup that had a decent amount of money, but our gut was just telling us something's off. This place is unorganized. Like, they don't understand what we do. They just want us to like basically start making videos without any kind of contract or any kind of negotiations.
Or what they were offering was very, very, very low.
Very low money for a lot of work. And we were tempted to take it. We almost did we actually did try to take it.
I remember like walking out of the office, and there was this full wall of handwritten products that they were going to have. And there was like so many. I was like, how are they going to do all of this?
Yes, it was a train heading off the tracks, that's for sure. And it was funny because it all came to a head when we sent our contract over, because we were starting to get cold feet. And it's a very standard contract that we send to everybody. We've sent it to many clients since. No one has had an issue with it. This guy was like, I don't like your contract. I'm not signing, blah, blah, blah. We ended up
And the money was very, very low too. But
the money was super low. And then we found out the day that we quit, the guy that we were supposed to work with, who was supposed to be our like go-to there, had quit the day before because it was so bad. So
I guess the lesson here is listen to your gut. And I think obviously when you're first starting out and you want to make an impression, yes, you will do a lot of work for free. And we have, but just pick and choose those things wisely.
Yes.
Like if it's not going to help you learn, or if you just have a weird feeling in your gut, I feel like it's always good to trust that.
Yes. It would have
know your worth.
It would be much better to put that time and energy into making your own content that you're passionate about, rather than making someone else's content for pennies and stress.
Yeah.
Yeah. Making someone else's content is going to be harder too, because you need to be them, right?
Yes.
That takes time, right? Yeah. No, I and also the other thing that you mentioned is the contract, which I think a lot of people worry about contracts, but even if you have something kind of in writing, like look at what happened, right? You sent it off to somebody and they were a little bit dodgy and they're like, hell no. That was great. That was great for you guys, right?
Yeah.
If you hadn't had a contract and you had just started working on it, you might have lost quite a bit of time, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Gosh, that would have been a nightmare. It also just helps, I think it helps you look more professional when you're going to new clients. They're like, oh, this person has, a production agreement. They must work with a lot of people. They must be experienced. Whereas when you're starting out, sometimes you feel annoying sending stuff like that, but it's only going to benefit you. And, we've had situations where we felt a little nervous, like, oh, are we going to get this payment? And because we have that contract, it's kind of like a safety net.
And even with pricing, we did struggle in the very beginning because our because we have a service, and based on particular clients, it's going to range, like pricing is going to range dramatically because we don't know exactly the scope of the project. So, but I do think in that same respect, when you have a decent price that you're offering for your service, people are going to look at that with respect. And if you're doing the opposite and you were like, oh, we'll do it for whatever your budget is, then you don't have the professionalism that you need.
They think, oh, they must not be that good, which is not true. We're fire. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I've heard that before. Actually, it's been mentioned a few times where customers will tend to judge you based on what the price you have out there. So if you have a low price, they just judge that you are new or that you don't know what you're doing. And if it's a really high price, they're like, okay, they must know what they're doing. You might not get the contract, but you'll at least raise an eyebrow and have them kind of like, maybe you'll end up in a bigger conversation, or maybe you'll push them away. And I think that's kind of the key, really, is that you want the people that you want and you don't want people you don't want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
It's a struggle to sift through and figure that out, though, as a new company.
Yes.
Yeah,
You said it. Amen.
Well, in contracts, like, whatever kind of like agreement you have that you put in paper is, maybe you might not, depending on what your service is and how much money is involved here, it might even be worth going after it in a court, like if they don't pay, right? I mean, but that's not the reason why you're doing it. I don't think the reason why you're doing it is to get that commitment from the client and make sure that everybody's agreeing on what they're getting. And then if something happens and they, leave a terrible review, you can go, well, here's the contract and this is what I put out there, right? Rather than them pretending like you guys agree to a whole bunch more that you didn't agree to, right?
Yeah, and it's beneficial for them as well. It's two-sided.
Absolutely.
And then also you said something that made me think, which is interesting. Like, I feel like it's probably similar for you with web design, but for us doing video, especially when we get to the edit, a lot of times we say 2 rounds of notes. That's kind of our standard thing. But a lot of times people might want an additional tweak or 2, or if it's a big company, maybe they're not communicating first and then giving us the notes. So we just want to make sure that, our price is set based on, these factors. And if you want extra, that's going to be extra. So it kind of pushes people to be organized on their end, which is helpful. And I'm sure that's very similar for you.
Yeah, it is. And another way that I look at it sometimes is that in those cases, you can make a decision to over deliver by adding that extra round of notes, as you've said, right? You can say, okay, fine, well, we can do another round, and now you're giving them a favor rather than it just being what they expect, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Bravo, Tim.
You're always in a better position if you're given the favors, right? So now, what about practice makes perfect or practice makes progress? How do you get good at what you guys do?
Well, I think before we even knew that we would ever start this business, like I said earlier, we were very passionate about comedy and about making comedy videos. And because we're also actresses, and we spent so much time honing and learning the craft of acting and breaking down scripts and producing our own content, that we kind of were teaching ourselves all along the way. And so all that work and effort, even though at the time we were like, what are we doing? We only got 500 views on this video. It's now kind of paying off. And now we have all this experience.
100%. And most people that do this, have gone to film school, et cetera. We both have degrees, but we're completely, we've learned from experience. Like we're self-taught editors. We've learned about camera and gear just by the practice of doing. And I think it's worth noting that because we started out creating content for ourselves, we wanted it to be good for us. So we put that extra time and attention in, and now we're able to take those skills and pass it on to our clients. And, there are some projects that if it requires like a certain level of skill set, we now have a big network of subcontractors that we work with, whether that's a DP who's experienced with a certain camera, or, an editor who can do broadcast color, all those different things.
And don't let this closet fool you. We thought this was only audio today. And this is a voiceover closet. So.
Surprise. Right on. Well, and also your audience grows with your experience as well. So, in the beginning, I think everybody has to recognize that they're not going to be awesome when you first get started, but that's okay because your audience isn't going to be huge either. So as you start to get better, your audience starts to get bigger, and it just kind of grows proportionally, right?
Yes,
absolutely. I mean, we've learned so much from failing. Well, boy, did we fail. But that's how you learn. Speaking
of learning, so we've got a topic called learning from the best, which is, where did you learn what you know? And do you have coaches? Do you participate in any type of masterminds? Are you learning still?
Oh
Oh,
my gosh, 1000%.
always.
We have
Always.
I was studying at an acting studio called Leslie Kahn for the last 10 years, and she's a genius when it comes to comedy. And she not only teaches you how to act, she teaches you how to break down the script and really teach yourself how to interpret text. So there's that, but we also have had coaches in terms of script writing and honestly, just people we idol. Harmon Brothers.
Oh
Seeing
yeah.
their ads, we're like, oh my gosh, we want to be them. They're so funny. They do it in such a creative, out of the box way. So we've kind of always looked up to them when it comes
Yeah.
to our making comedy ads.
Yeah, definitely. And even when it comes to things like entrepreneurship, technical stuff, like listening to podcasts like yours has really helped us a lot with, the nuts and bolts of starting a business and knowing that a lot of the things that we are experiencing are normal. Like she said, through that acting school, we learned so much about comedy, and now our main focus, and I think our bread and butter when we make these ads, is comedy. So it all kind of came full circle, and we're still learning. We're always learning. I mean, I'm on YouTube every day, like how to make an insane transition out of, you know what I mean?
Right. I think.
So you guys are still learning your craft, but you're also learning business in general too, right?
Definitely.
Oh, yeah. That has been a big learning curve for myself.
And me too. Yeah.
And I think it has to be a matter of doing in this instance. So like Shelby said, we've sought out a lot of different business podcasts, and that has helped tremendously. And
yeah, it's interesting because things in terms of learning come full circle in ways you didn't even imagine. Like, for example, our acting training has really helped us when we're pitching commercial ideas to clients on Zoom, because we act the full thing out in a way that they can see it, that the actor would do it on set. So
that has definitely helped us in the pitching.
Yes,
for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. I think sales and acting should be something taught in schools. Like for everybody, right?
Definitely.
100%.
It's actually ridiculous that it's not, especially sales, because even if you're working for an employer, you're still going to have to, if you ever want to get a raise, you're going to have to make a point. You're going to have to get in there and actually sell yourself, right?
Yeah.
And we don't learn how to do that. So it's cool that you guys, learning how to act is going to be great. You'll be able to prepare and memorize and all that stuff. And it's even cooler that you play out scenes. That's awesome.
Yeah. Because we kind of, obviously when writing it, we know how we want it to come out or how it sounds in our head. So it's just beneficial when we're the ones presenting it, and we can do all those technical things that we know work with comedy.
Right on. And so when you first started your business, was that something that you sought training for? Did you just start a business and then figure it out as you go?
Well, it's kind of funny because speaking of Craigslist, when we were in the beginning of the pandemic, I was on there every single day. I was like, oh, what can we do? I was trying to kind of piece it together in my head. I was like, we can do all these editing jobs. I was like, but what is it? And there something came up, and it was actually an ad agency in Sweden. In Sweden. And we had a phone meeting with this guy, or a video conference with this guy, and it ended up paying the bills for a while. He was giving us jobs based on our old comedy videos that we had sent him, and we just pitched him several ideas. He gave us products. We pitched him several ideas. He was like, these are amazing. And I was like, these are amazing. So then we started, producing them, and we edit them ourselves. And we're like, gosh, why don't we do this for other clients or other ad agencies? And then that's how how the seed got planted.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty common. That's how I got started too, was just by doing it. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, maybe I should do it for more people. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. So now, okay, I think this is probably the best topic for you guys to talk about is getting fans.
Yeah.
So, how do you guys approach that? What's your strategy?
Yeah, getting those fans.
I
Yeah.
mean, I guess it depends if I'm going to kind of take it in terms of getting fans that could potentially turn into clients.
The right fans, yeah.
Yeah, the right fans. I think it comes down to something that we've discovered, which can be frustrating, and that we've talked to other people about, is you can do so many pitches that never turn into a paid job, but just still giving those ideas and pitches your all, and coming up with the best possible ideas for the client, doing the best possible pitch, so that a lot of times we'll have people say, like on the Zoom, like, oh my gosh, these are great, whatever. They may not bite, they may not move forward that time, but I think the more you show up and give your best every time, the more that person might say, oh, you should talk to these girls. They gave us a great pitch. We didn't do it, but like maybe you should use them. And also just staying in touch with people, like, she's really good at this. Like, every few months or so, like if we have a client we haven't heard from, she always like will email them, how's it going? Just wanted to check in, like, hope you guys are doing well. This is what we've been up to, etc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those personal connections are the most valuable. And, after having X amount of clients, then and if they like you, you get repeat business. And then, the classics, word of mouth. I think that's kind of the biggest way. And, since we had our start at Instagram, we did have quite a following for a long time. So I think we actually just did a promo for our business. We haven't released it yet, but hopefully we can get some of those fans from the past to spread the word.
Definitely.
I think you guys made a couple really good points. Like, one is that even though your pitch might not be someone that actually might come on board, there's a couple benefits to that. Number one, you're practicing, right? So, every time you deliver that pitch, you get better at it, right? And then the other thing too that you said is that, yeah, they might not say yes, but if you did a really good job at pitching your business, it just might not be for them at the time, and they can refer you to somebody else. Which now you have somebody working for you, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny the way you laid it out. I was just thinking, because we are screenwriters also, a lot of those same things have happened to us on the, more creative screenwriting side. Like, maybe a script we wrote 3 years ago didn't move forward, but that same person now is interested in what we've recently written. And it's like, wow, nothing is in vain. Really, at the end of the day, nothing you do is in vain.
No,
now
it's always
that's a hot
forward.
take.
Yeah, it's always moving you forward. Absolutely, no matter what happens. And yeah, it's practice, and you're gonna need it. I mean, I'd rather practice my pitch on somebody that isn't gonna buy, so that it's ready for the person who's like, the best person for you, and then you screw it up. You're better off to be ready for it, right?
Absolutely.
Such a good point. Such a good point.
Nailed it, Tim.
All right. Well, it's time for your guest solo. So let's hear it. What's exciting in your business?
You want to kick it off, or you want me to kick it off?
Okay. Guest solo.
Solo.
Take2content.com. Check us out. We do social ads for brands and businesses. And if you just want to make more content, like lifestyle content, we do that as well. We really don't discriminate. We do all kinds of content. It's not necessarily comedy, but we are proficient in comedy.
Yes. If you have a brand that needs those extra views on YouTube, we'll get them for you. So definitely
check us out.
Was that a good guest solo?
That's great. I have another question though. So who would be the ideal person who would get the most from your help?
I would say, in terms of, I think I could answer this in terms of either the service they provide or the product that they're trying to sell, but I'm going to say it differently. I'm going to say the person who's open to pushing the boundaries just a little bit, or
Taking risks.
taking some risks with their marketing, thinking outside the box a little bit, someone who's open to kind of let us bring that comedy element in and maybe almost create a whole image around either the service or the product that is going to stick in people's minds. I would say that would be the person that would most benefit from us. Would you say?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the ads I watch that have that humor, have that like offbeat thing, are the ones that stick out in my mind, are the ones that you almost respect them more for taking those risks. I'm like, oh wow, they're really cool. They're really something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think it's a fantastic idea. I mean, marketing is something that is super important. And I mean, all the big companies, they spend loads of money on commercials and that are really well thought out and sometimes not, but still, why not us, right? So now, are you like mainly working with like bigger companies or just individuals, or like who's your target market?
We do it all.
Broad spectrum.
Yeah, we do both. We have a client that's sort of a bigger startup company. They actually just got bought, so I guess they're not a startup anymore. But we also work with, individuals who want to up their social media content. We also work with, we just did something for like a skincare brand that's just starting out. So we kind of like run the gamut in terms of who we work with.
Love it. Love it. Well, that sounds awesome. Thank you so much for rocking out with me today, girls. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank
It was
you,
great.
Tim.
You're
This
awesome.
was so fun.
Cool. And to the listeners, make sure you subscribe, rate, and comment. We'll see you next time on the Work at Home Rockstar podcast.